Welcome to Selling Circular, the podcast dedicated to exploring the innovative minds and business models shaping our transition to a circular economy. I'm Garr, CEO of LoopLayer. Sabira, still in Mexico.
I'm in Mexico. I'm Sabira Lakhani, VP of Product at SpareTech. And today we're diving into a fascinating upcycling story that we've encountered, one that started with a simple question from students and now has grown into something that's reshaping how we think about one of packaging's most stubborn waste streams.
Our guest today is Erada Olieta, the founder of the Chip Bag Project, an organization that's been turning what most people consider unrecyclable waste, those crinkly Mylar chip bags, candy wrappers, juice boxes, and turning them into life-saving products for people experiencing homelessness. But this isn't, again, just another feel-good story.
Definitely not. What I loved about Erada's journey and what's so compelling is how she navigated the challenge of being an organization that doesn't exactly fit into a specific category. Are they a nonprofit, social enterprise? Are they a waste management company, even a product manufacturer? The answer is really all of the above, and that can create challenges and opportunities.
Yeah, let's talk about that scale for a moment and that problem. So when we say we're dealing with waste streams, we're not just talking about a few bags here. This isn't just what piled up in sort of an alleyway. No, we're really talking about Erada and the team have collected over 2.5 million pounds of this material. Now, again, people, this is Mylar. So when we're talking 2.5, that's already filled with so much air and gas, and this is compressed. That amount of weight of that Mylar is insane. And that's the material that would otherwise end up in landfills. And as Sabira mentioned from her time in India, even sometimes burned into cement kilns as a binding agent.
Yep. And Mylar, that's a technical term for this multi-layered plastic material, is notoriously difficult to recycle through traditional methods. It's lightweight, but incredibly durable, which makes it great for packaging, but terrible for waste management. Most recycling facilities cannot handle it, and when they try, it often jams their machinery.
I think that's what's I love about that Mylar too, is like when you're shipping it in reverse, again, it's air. And so that's so expensive to transport air. And so what's fascinating about Erada's approach is that she didn't just start with the waste problem. She started with a very human problem. So people experiencing homelessness who needed better protection from the elements. And you get to hear how she started to connect the dots, because the sleeping bags weren't just created as really as sort of symbolically. They're genuinely functional, leveraging the Mylar's insulating properties in a way that becomes the difference between life and death in some harsh Midwest Michigan winters.
I mean, that's the beauty, right, of such a durable good, is that it can have multiple uses over its life.
Yes.
And that's this human-centered approach that can really drive innovation. And Erada has used that as her organization has grown. But also what she realized is she had to learn an entirely new language to interact and interface with new stakeholders, right? If you're dealing with corporate sustainability at a corporation that manufactures products that uses Mylar, thinking about ESG metrics and circular economy acronyms, this is a different world than necessarily experimenting with the use of Mylar and its different use cases. So she talks through her journey of translating that social impact into stories and metrics that corporations can understand and value.
So one thing that probably really struck out is how honest she was about these challenges. And I think that's what probably we identified in terms of when you were talking to her at Circularity. That was where we were first introduced, and we'll get to that. But I just love how she's kind of an open book. So this isn't a sanitized story. We're talking about someone who has had a fair amount of overwhelming success in a short amount of time of dealing with a waste stream that an industry is like, you have a solution, you have a model that maybe can help us, then people are coming for this type of model. So she's moved facilities, outgrown their space, dealt with everything from the pest problem, which we'll get into, because when you're dealing with chip bags, there are remnants in chip bags. And then even when they're applying heat to these types of solutions that they're creating, sometimes that you can get some burns. So she's really putting in the work.
And that's what's been really cool, is that there's a lot of creativity and resilience in trying to figure out what to do with this material. And the Chip Bag Project has expanded beyond sleeping bags. They're making tote bags, wallets, freezer bags for grocery stores, and even experimenting with tents, which when you start to think about it, all of that makes sense. Like that's how the material has been used. And so they've even partnered with companies like StockX and are working with Michigan's environmental agency to put collection kiosks in grocery stores across the state. So she's really expanded from that first experiment and grown the organization.
So as we celebrate almost their fifth anniversary, I think this year, which again started as a 6-month project and it's just been continuing to find success, they're launching their first major fundraiser and expanding their collection of their network across Michigan. And so we actually get to hear about that update, which came from a great state grant. And that's the importance of grants in a time where grants are in question, that this work is being put into communities. It's doing good work on both helping the community and finding a use for a commodity material that otherwise would be wasted. And so this is really the fun part that we get to get into.
We're interested in the technical challenges of upcycling, difficult materials, the social enterprise model, or just want to hear from somebody who's built something remarkable from literally nothing but chip bags and raw determination. This conversation has something for you. Let's get right into it with Erada from the Chip Bag Project.
Thank you for joining us here. We got to introduce you, or actually, we got to meet you. You got to be introduced to the circularity crew and audience by Sabira. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience in terms of circularity in general? What that meant for you to be there from a circular economy standpoint? What did you like about that experience?
Yeah, so I was chosen to be an emerging leader last year for the Circularity Conference, which for me was very interesting because I've been in like a bubble of circularity by myself in the Midwest, where it's like we
I
have
love that.
lots of conversations about what circular economy is and how we fit into it. But as Chip Back Project is so much so a nonprofit, a social enterprise, and so many different things mixed into one that we never really found our place yet. And so being accepted into that cohort gave me an opportunity not only to validate the ideas that I have been, conjuring up in my own little slice of the world, but also gave the opportunity for me to meet like-minded individuals, also meet with industry people that I've always wanted to have conversations with, set up meetings, and also gave me an opportunity to test out some new skills for myself and also start to learn acronyms because, in the circular economy world, acronyms run the world. And I'm always telling people when they're talking, I'm like, just imagine you're talking to people that don't know how to speak acronyms. So just being able to be in that space and like learn about all the acronyms and all the things that companies are looking for in the world of circular economy and sustainability, that also allowed me to figure out where does Chip Back Project fit into that? Where do I fit into that? Because I do consulting work too as well. And how do we start to merge social enterprises, nonprofit with corporations too as well, because I think that there's a huge divide where nonprofits and corporations only start to merge together when somebody needs to put on a fancy story. So it's very
Exactly. Yeah.
interesting to be in that space and not only be validated, but also be looked at as a person of knowledge and a person that is moving the circular economy forward. So it was very validating for myself.
Yeah. Can you actually unpack that too a little bit more? I find that I think we probably find that Sabira in general, whether it was in our own work when Sabira and I work together or interviewing some of the companies we've interviewed before, there is often an identity problem when you're trying to solve so many unique or like a complex challenge where you're like, people want to just kind of shoehorn you into, you're like, oh, you're this. And it's like, I'm sort of that, but I'm also this. What was that like in sort of those early years where you were trying to form that general sense of what you wanted to accomplish with all of these terms and definitions that are put upon us in circular economy? How did you sort of come to that identity with the chip project?
Still figuring it out, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
That's fair too.
yeah,
Yes.
still figuring that out. Because one of the things, because I've been in the world of sustainability for about 10 plus years now, I have been mostly in project based and speaking about food waste and food equity and things of that nature. And now to be in a space where I'm primarily talking about plastic waste and talking about corporate responsibility, it was very where do we don't know where we fit in. I think one of the things that we are learning, because Trade Back Project is such a very niche market and we're in kind of like a world on our own. We're trying to get everyone else to be in a space where almost like you're playing like, hey, see me, look at me. Mylar is a product that is used across almost every plastic industry in some kind of capacity, but it's something that people don't talk about in the recycling world or in the upcycling world or in circular economy world very much. So when we were coming into this, I really just wanted first people to understand why we matter, why we fit into this world, and also understand how they can be of use to us and how we can be of use to them too as well. So if I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that really, like, we are in a space of learning. So I'm learning all about the new acronyms that come out. I'm learning about when people are saying, is it like ESG? Is that, I forgot that's
Oh
one of
yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm learning about,
you're learning corporate. Yeah,
yes, I'm
learning
learning
corporate speak.
yes, I'm learning corporate lingo,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
also allowing me to appeal to a base that I haven't been able to appeal to before. And also it's allowing me, because I've been kind of saying something over the last couple of weeks now that, just having a good idea doesn't bring any change to anything. You have to have a good idea, and you also have to make it fit into other people's ideas, right? So in Chip Back Project, we have been kind of playing on your heartstrings for the last 5 years, and we've been like, yeah, we're so good, we're doing these great work, but now we're moving into a space where we're having these conversations about, okay, what does emissions look like? What does our greenhouse gases look like? What are we actually doing on a larger scale in this corporate world? What are we saving people from? How are we actually fitting into this world? Because before it was just, oh yeah, we're making sleeping bags and we're going to be helping people who are displaced and nomadic. But now it's more so, we're actually we're taking so much plastic from landfills. And what does that actually mean in the terms of metrics? How do these companies start to save metrics by working with us? And how are we actually contributing to the circular economy world by speaking in metrics, by speaking in emissions, and having these very real conversations in a way where corporations understand, not just saying, hey, this is a really good thing that you're helping us do, but like also being like, hey, but we're also saving this and this and this and this, and we're saving this metric ton, and we're helping you remove this amount of gas from the world, and all of these conversations that get them really excited, because then they're able to plaster it on their website and say, hey, we're saving this, instead of just being like, we're partnering with this organization to do this really good thing, but it's like it's actually getting to their bottom line too as well. So I'm able to have bottom line conversations, which I never thought I would be a person doing that, but I'm very excited about it. And it's been very, very interesting to dive my head all into corporate lingo when it comes to circular economy, because it is very, I won't say it's very new, but it's starting to be very prominent.
Yeah. And I'm
Mhm.
curious, actually, like, I think that the human part of your story, like a lot of upcycling either focuses on the product outcome or like
Mhm.
the input human, meaning like somebody
Mhm.
is working to upcycle a
Yeah.
material, but yours is really fascinating because it really had to do with the output, like the product that you're making, where you first
Yes.
started to make the sleeping bag for transient people, nomadic people, that like that has such a human and real, I don't know, real world impact beyond the
Mhm.
material thing. And so maybe just take us to that like first moment where you had the idea. What was the context? Why did you have the idea? And like, how did it spark this passion in you?
Yeah, like I was saying, I've been in the world of sustainability for about 10 years now. And I started off in this world as a teacher and doing place-based education and actually starting recycling programs within schools in Michigan. And one of the things that we will always hit is chips and chip bags and candy bags. And my kids will always be like, Mr. Rada, what are we supposed to do with this? And so I came up with really fun ways of them using it. We would make rings out of it, because when I was a kid, me and my friends made chip bag rings and wallets and little purses. And so I took a very artistic approach to it. And so during COVID, since I wasn't able to be in a classroom with them and actually have that one-on-one human experience with them, I had to leave teaching, but I promised my students, I'm like, I'm still going to do something about this. I'm still going to think about a problem. I'm still going to think about solutions. And also for my birthday, I always like to do something for the community. So whether it's like a community cleanup where we go feed people or whatever, but because we couldn't be in the space of contact, I just had to get a little bit more creative. So that's like introducing the age. I'm a Facebooker. I always tell people like I'm always on Facebook, and I watch videos a lot And one of the videos that sparked my attention was a woman in England who was making crisp, that's what they call chips packet over there, crisp packets into blankets. And so started to think about, is that applicable as a place-based educator? You always have to think about, is this solution applicable in my environment? So blankets are not applicable in Michigan because Michigan is a very wet and cold place. But one of the things that I do is I go camping every year, and I also go ice camping. So like camping in very freezing cold conditions, and we will always have like bivy bags and always have emergency blankets. So now thinking through what are some solutions, I was like, oh, and I remember one day my friend was like eating potato chips or something, and I was hearing the sound of the potato chip bag, and it just like sparked my brain. I was like, oh my God, that sounds just like my bivy bag. And that's really how this started, from one, a need from my students and having conversations with my students, to also being in a space of recollection from my own personal travels, and then wanting to do something that was impactful. So I wanted to have a conversation about plastic waste, but I knew that we couldn't just come at it and say, hey, save all this plastic. But how do you start to have a visual representation from the things that we try to hide and throw away? So first, people, right? People are always trying to get rid of people who are displaced and nomadic, who are always outside, by creating laws that affect them. And people are always trying to figure out where the next hole to dump all my trash into. So now bringing those two worlds together was something that was very important to me. And it took me about 3 months to launch it. So I got the idea in the summer, and I don't eat potato chip bags. I don't eat candy. So it was something that I was like,
So you
I
needed some
really,
feedstock.
yeah, so I needed some
Yeah.
feedstock for sure. And I was talking to my friends about it, and my friends, get you some good friends. My friends are people who just, I think like, they are just so used to me coming up with random ideas, and they just go along with it. And so I was texting my friends. I was like, hey guys, I want to make a sleeping bag out of potato chip bags. And they were all like, how does that work, Arada? I'm like, I have no clue how that works yet. But if you give me your potato chip bags, we can figure this out together. And so they started saving potato chip bags. Then one of my other friends were like, hey, why don't you put it on Instagram or something so you can get more people in your community to send your potato chip bags? So I was like, okay, cool. So I made a flyer and I posted it on Facebook first because more reactions faster. And I posted it on Facebook and I posted it on Instagram. I think like a couple of hours later, the Fox News reached out to me and were like, hey, we would love to post this and have you on our story. And at that point, I had 10 potato chip bags already collected from my friends. So they were like, we want to come to your house and see your potato chip bags, you know? And so I was like, I don't have any. So I took the 10 that I had, I threw it on the floor, and they had a segment of me picking them up. And from there, I was on CNN, and then I started to go, I went from 10 to 100 to someone that owned a sandwich shop called me a couple of days later, and then I had thousands, and then from thousands to 10,000 to 100,000, and now we're at 2.5 million pounds. So it's just, it kind of happened very
I
serendipitously.
I think that goes kind of frankly credit to you, because when the news crew shows up, they probably don't really care as much about the chip bag as like how dynamic you are.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, that's what I think is great, because that really sold it. And then that kind of segues me into selling, which
Yeah.
is you spoke about selling and learning the corporate language and how that's going to increase sort of your impact. That's going to get you into doors and into conversations where
Mhm.
where they'll be better able to accept your message, better able to accept the program.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, I love that you went and thought, because that's still not a community sales message yet either. And so I love
Mhm.
that there's a getting somebody to put that sleeping bag on for the first time, or getting somebody to understand that this is of social value. What was that? How was that original message sort of crafted in there too?
Using me. You
Yeah,
are
yeah,
your best advertisement. I
yeah,
decided, we had a really, really bad snowstorm in Michigan one day. And I think we had close to, if I'm not exaggerating, I think 3 feet of snow or something like that. And it was extremely
yeah.
cold. I'm anemic. And so I was sitting down and my friend was like, "Have you tried out your sleeping bag?" And I was like, "I know it works. I know." I'm like, "I don't need to test it out." And then she very plainly, she's like, "You want someone else to trust you, but you haven't trusted your own thing yet." And so I went outside and I was like, "Okay, if I'm going to actually market this out to people and tell people to try this out, I need to also be a partaker of this solution." So I packed my stuff up. I made a hole in my parents' backyard because they had a bunch of snow on their deck. I made me a little hole. I put my sleeping bag inside of it. I wore a jacket, and I wore a jacket that wasn't too thick either, too, as well. So I wore a jacket that also was made from Mylar and went inside the sleeping bag. And the first time I went inside of it, the only thing I can say to myself, like, "Oh my God, this is actually warm." And I recorded myself. And I recorded myself. I made a time lapse video of me being inside of it. I put my head out of the back so people could see my breath and how cold it was. I put my head back inside of it so people could see the difference between it. And in actually sleeping in it allowed me to then go back to the drawing board to say, maybe I need a little bit of cushion inside of it because it was just the bag at that time. I'm like, maybe want to put a little cushion to make it a little bit more comfortable. So being able to use that, and when I wanted to get my first person who was not me to try it out, I showed them the video. I was like, "Hey," because he was like, "You want me to do what with what?" And I was like, "Wait, let me show you." So I brought out my phone. I had him watch the video. He's like, "Oh, okay. It looked like," he was very, very extremely skeptical. But we
Yep.
were in the field and we were doing resource give backs. And I also tag resource give backs with our sleeping bags. So we just don't give sleeping bags. We give tents out, gloves, jackets, and food too as well. And so we did that. And I told him, I was like, "Try it out right now. It's very cold outside. Try it out. See what you think. If you like it, sleep in it for the night. I'll be back here tomorrow. Give me your feedback." And that's what I did. And from one person to
Great.
two people to three people. And I think when I got to my 10th person, I stopped passing them out. And we went back to the drawing board from all the feedback we got from those 10 people to improve the next round of our sleeping bags. And then we did another 10 people and then took those out of circulation, brought those back, fixed them up. And now we're going into our third iteration, which is to make it more carryable. So every single time I give it to someone, I always make sure that I can go back to those same people to get a follow back feedback so we can improve on the design, because it's not something that in my brain I'm not like, this is the final product. I don't even think after the 10th or 20th sleeping bag I'm still going to be like, this is all we can do, because I feel like if I can do one thing I can do 100.
I love, I mean, this, your story, wow. They're on both the supply side, there is scale. And I really like that you have started, and we talked about this in person, is like your creativity, you have kind of managed to scale by engaging other designers, but to like come up with new products. I want to hear about that. But I also want to talk about the scale problem on the material supply side, which is this is like a known hard to recycle material.
Yeah.
When I lived and worked in India, we would send this waste to cement kilns and it would be, used as like a co-processing energy generator. And that's not really ideal. So like you've managed to come up with a better solution and use, but there is the problem of like you're getting it in mass and you're getting it sometimes like in use, like people are actually sending you bags with chips, right? So
Yeah.
both of those, I want to go in both directions, but you pick where you want to go first, but we'll go in both places.
One of the things that I always find really funny and also not funny is when people send me full bags of chips. And I'm like, "Do you want me to like eat this while I was working or something? Thank you for caring about my stomach as
I
well."
love
Like,
how they miss the message entirely. Yeah,
like
yeah.
empty it out. And we will get so there was a time before we stopped doing collections, because we had to stop collections because we're grown out of 3 facilities thus far and we're looking for money to be able to scale into something bigger. And I remember I was going to the mailbox every single day and picking up huge boxes of chip bags. Huge boxes. And they would fill up my car really quickly, and I'll have to make multiple trips, and they will fill up my house. And again, not only do I not eat chips, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't like how they smell. Like, it's not my thing. So imagine, like waking up every day, I'm stepping on chips. I had a cat at the time and a chinchilla. I would find chips in their fur because people would just not dump them. And one of the reasons of why I had to stop doing collections because we were getting so many half-eating bags of chips. And one time I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, they don't even fill it up all the way. So why are you wasting so much to send it to me? Like, eat it all. Like, what is the problem?
What are you eating? 5 chips? Like,
Okay.
what are you? Yeah.
And you're sending me whole bags of it. So it used to be really, really, really disheartening because it does take a very long time to clean them, dry them, and because we try to do everything in a way that is sustainable, it's a very hard model, right? For when you want to go scaling, because now you have to think about how much water are you using? Are you offsetting the emissions with the water usage? Are you offsetting chemicals? Like what has actually happened during this process of cleaning? And then getting to corporations sending huge tons of chip bags to me. And I'm like, yo, I didn't ask for this, right? But also because I am a nonprofit, because I am at that point one person, right? Not having the agency to be able to speak up for myself and saying, hey, stop, right? Because one, I don't have a contact person. I just have a person who said, what was your address? We would love to send this to you one time. And from one time, you're getting calls from trucks and saying, hey, we're in front of your store. We're in front of your house. We need somebody to sign for this. And you're like, as you're signing, getting pallets and pallets of things. And sometimes I sit in my room and I think to myself, like, did I trap myself? Because now I'm swimming in this thing, but it also sparked something in my head because I'm like, this is a huge problem. So if everyone is so eager to drop this off, if everyone is so eager to take this off their hands, that means there is a market for collections of this product, right? So now we're in collections. So how in scaling this, from every single point of this organization, company, whatever you want to call it, we've had to be very innovative in how we do things because we've found an issue in every single aspect, whether it's an issue with the collection side, whether it's an issue with the cleaning side, whether it's an issue with processing, like every single thing has been an effort of collecting and innovating and scaling, right? And like I was saying, we went from an office, a building. I had a little tiny office, and I was so happy in there. People used to come all the time. We would have events, and that it was great. That lasted about 2 months, y'all. 3 months, maybe. And we were in this people's parking lot. They called me a year into it. They were like, hey, Erada, we love you. We love you so much. Don't get me wrong, Erada. You're amazing. But what we're not going to do is all the chips everywhere. Because people are sending you half-eaten bags of chips, you have a rodent
you start
problem.
getting some. Yeah, I was gonna say, start getting to a
Some
pest
extra
problem.
visitors. Yeah, you're getting extra visitors. I will wake up and I have chips in my hair. And I remember I was going out one time and one of my friends picked out like Fritos and she's like, hey, you smell like corn chips. And we know Fritos don't smell good. So, like now it's kind of like part of your identity. You're the chip lady. You're walking around. So thinking through so many different things of this project has not only innovated my scaling efforts, because now also in me saying all of this, there is no blueprint for this, right? There is no blueprint of how we do this. So at this time, we're riding our bike, we're building it at the same time. We're trying to figure out where to store our bike when we get it all fixed and going. We're also trying to figure out who else is trying to ride this bike with us because we don't want to ride a bike alone. And it's like you're having to do so many different things. Are there bike clubs? Are there so many? Do you start a bike club? Like, so it's so many different things that are happening all at one time while you're trying to scale that have forced me to be not only a waste hauler, but it's forced me to be a seamstress. I had to learn how to sew with a sewing machine. I don't like ironing. Had to find a way to love ironing. And I
that can come with some burns.
I've burnt myself so many times, and the skin, it shows everything. And so it's been so many different things with this. And I fondly like to joke around with people and say I started a project where all the things I don't like: chips, ironing, washing, cleaning, being outside in the cold.
So like let's pivot to then the scaling of your creativity, which is like now you have all this material. It is chaos. You're
Well, and
figuring
also
everything
infinite
out.
material.
Yeah, it's like never going away.
Yeah.
And it's so lightweight and voluminous, like a lot of problems with the material, but
Mm-hmm.
that has now sparked some new opportunities of like the types of products that you can upcycle into. Tell us like where is the material going? Because we also talked about now like just also raw material
Mm-hmm.
reuse without upcycling. So like show us like the material diagram. How is it being used?
Yeah, so several different ways. One of the fun things that we have been doing in my team, I have a team of 10 people now, is thinking of all the different ways that we can get this product to do other things. So I've been doing so much research. We've made tote bags out of this. We've made wallets. We're looking on how to make a tent. We're kind of getting very innovative on what we can do, because if you really think about it, Mylar is being used in clothing, it's being used in food material, it's being used in road materials, used in insulation. So like we're getting very, very creative, because instead of, and also in, like I was saying, in getting introduced to corporations, we were able to start to have dialogue and conversations about how do we stop people from using new material and pushing them to using our material, because a lot of our material that we have never been touched by human hands, so it's just from production straight to us. So how do we get people to get our material and use that feedstock for their insulation, for roadways, things of that nature, right? And I've had a lot of fun working with this product. Now we collect like coffee bags and bird food bags and candy wrappers and juice boxes and Mylar balloons. And even with the Mylar balloons, we tried to make a sleeping bag out of it the other day and it went disastrous. But then because of that, I'm teaching my team about the different kinds of Mylar and what thickness mean, right? And depending on the kind of Mylar we have, what we can actually do with them. So what I can do with, like, let's say a Capri Sun box, I can't do with a Mylar balloon. And what I can do with a chip bag, I can't do with a candy wrapper, right? And so thinking through all of those ways, we're able to make a lot of really interesting things. And like some of the things I've mentioned are things that we do in for companies. We've had a company get in contact with us to make something for their employees as a thank you. So we're able to make them tote bags. We've made freezer bags for a grocery store before, and which was also very, very fun. And we're in using that, we started to collect vinyl, because even
Mm,
though vinyl has nothing to do
absolutely.
with Mylar, vinyl is very useful for the production of Mylar, right? And so we're able to now work with a vinyl maker in Ohio. So we get vinyl. Since we have vinyl now, we're able to make our own packaging printing material. So now we make our own printed labels for all of our products, so we don't have to now buy printed labels or do something different, right? So it's like we're getting really, really creative. And as we're bringing more and more people into the fold of what we do, they have really great ideas. And I'm a pick your own fertilizer type of girl. So I tell people, do the thing that makes you happy and bring that innovation here. And the sky is the limit and we can do whatever. The only thing that we cannot do is not do it. So we've been
Well,
able to just try a lot. Yeah.
no, I love your message there on A, try a lot, do what you love, do what makes you happy. But it also speaks to all of the things that you listed earlier that you don't like doing, but that's so almost it's incomparable to the amount of joy you probably get from the creativity, the reuse,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
challenge of building what you're building, that just is such a display of like, yeah, all that stuff kind of sucks, but like the mission is there, and like all of
Yeah.
that of like of proving that impact with the material that kind of that really shows through. Can you help us understand, like, when a brand comes to you, or is if they are interested in working with you all, What's the process like? What should they have almost? What would be your preferred package that they could bring to you for them to go, this is what we're thinking. How can we work together? What would you advise them?
Bring an idea. If you don't have an idea, come and say, we don't have an idea. We're giving you free creative control. And also come with dollars. I keep telling people, like,
Yeah,
stop
that's
giving us your stuff and expecting me to be a magician when you get paid to do what you do, right? So when companies approach us, one of the first things that I always tell them is like, do you actually have money for us to make this happen? And I've had a company being like, but I thought you were a nonprofit. I was like, yeah, I'm not profiting, but doesn't mean it doesn't take profit to make this happen. I was like, it's a bunch of things that happen
yeah.
with this. People come on a small tangent. People
Oh
come
yeah.
at us
Oh yeah.
with some ridiculous requests that they would never say yes to, right? So when a company wants to partner with us, we don't say yes often, because one of the things that I will never do is sell my integrity for a couple of dollars, and I will never sell my integrity just because it's a big name company. If you do not have the right morals, we will have a conversation about social responsibility first before we do anything with you. We don't partner with certain organizations right now and certain companies now because they have not been willing to take that social responsibility. Because now I'm going to ask you, who makes your Mylar? Who makes your packaging? Do you know where your packaging is coming from? How much are those people making that make your packaging? Where have you been dumping your packaging before you came here? Do you know what is happening to your packaging? If you cannot answer those questions with me, then you're not ready to partner with me, because I'm going to hold you accountable, right? Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to sleep at night and knowing that, okay, I did a good thing, not just like, I can pay my rent. Yeah, I can pay my rent, but can I sleep in that house that I'm paying the rent for? Do I feel comfortable about that? How does my team feel about that? If I have kids one day, will my kids start to like have to go on an apology tour for all the things that I did, right? So I think about so those are the things that I ask company to think about when they're partnering with someone like me, because I've had people tell me all the time, Erada, like my co-executive director, he's an engineer, he's very technical, he's very like, we got to pay the bills, Erada. And I'm very like, oh my God, guys, let's dream. Let's imagine. And he's like, yeah, we got to imagine, but we only have $5,000 in the bucket for imagination. So let your imagination have some constraints. And so finding that balance, right? So when people are coming to us, those are the questions that I'm always asking them, because
Yeah.
I want you to stop and think, right? It's not enough for you to slap us on your website and say we're doing a good thing, but what does that good thing translate to in the long run? And then also one of the things that I also like to do is this sustainable, and does this actually make sense for us, right? So we're just a couple of months ago, we were able to do a partnership with StockX, where we came into their building and we did kind of like a team
I loved
retreat
that
with them.
video. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. You
We did
did
a
great.
team
Yeah.
retreat with you. Thank you. And honestly, truly, too, as a person that has disabilities, that day was very, very hard for me. And another like minor segue, it was very, very hard for me because I was having flare-ups. My legs were all swollen. My body was going through things. And why I love StockX a lot is because they understood all of that, right? Not only did they walk me through the process, they were understanding when I'm like, hey, I no longer can film, guys. Like, film somebody else. Go talk to other people, right? And then also, when we partnered, we knew that, yes, this one thing is coming out, but this is only a drop in what we have for the future. And they also were able to share their sustainability metrics with us. And their sustainability director was able to sit on our board now, right? So it's kind of like that shared responsibility thing.
Yeah.
And I always
Absolutely.
tell people that email us, I don't always respond to emails because I don't know what people's missions are. And if I research you and I'm like, you're just trying to use this for a photo op, we don't even respond. Or if you're saying yes, you're going to have this conversation, well, we start to go through the process. You'll meet with our design team. You'll meet with our social media person. We'll start to like roll this out. And we always tell people we're not partnering with you for one time. We partner you for a lifetime. So we're willing to hold your hand through the process of getting you to where we feel like makes sense, but we're also willing to learn from you too as well.
I love that. Yeah. You're coming up on a big milestone, and to round us out here, yeah, 5 years. How cool is that? Can you give our audience a call to action? What gives you hope, and then what's next, and how can they interact with you in general?
Yeah, we're gonna be 5 years. Did not think we're gonna make it. We did not even think we were going to be existent for 5 years. This was supposed to be a 6 month project that has grown into being 5 years. And my call to action is come and partner with us, come and serve with us. Send us your chip bags because we are going to now be opening collections again. We were able to get a beautiful grant from Eagle because Eagle and Next Cycle Michigan were two organizations that believed in the mission of what we're doing and also believed in us and being a steward of plastic waste here in the Great Lakes. And send us your chip bags, send us donations because the work that we do is not only for sleeping bags, we provide resources, we provide hotel rooms during the winter time, we provide hats and food, and we do a lot in the community. A lot of the things that we do not document because one of the things that I believe in is not using people's down when they're down as a way to highlight us. So we do a lot of our resource giving. A lot of people do not know how much resources that we give out, but every winter we give out a lot of stuff and we do a lot. So partner with us on that. Follow our mission, follow us on chipbackproject.com, donate, purchase something from us when we open our shop up again. We usually sell our tote bags and things once in a while to be able to raise money. And we're going to be having a fundraiser this year, so we'll love to see more people. And with our grant from Eagle, we are also going to be putting collections in certain grocery stores around the state of Michigan. We're doing our pilot program this year, so look out for a chip bag collection kiosk at a grocery store near you. Hopefully we can get it through all of the grocery stores and hospitals and schools around the United States within the next couple of years, but we would love to start with our home first, right? And also one of the very big thing is pick up the trash around you and also be kind to somebody too as well. That's like a big thing. People are not disposable. Your trash doesn't just end up in a trash can. It ends up in a landfill that blows into somebody else's neighborhood. So be very conscious about the things that you're putting in waste bins because just one man's trash is another man's treasure. And just because you're done with it doesn't mean that it's actually done being used.
Erada, thank you so much for your, I would say, very passionate and thoughtful leadership in growing your organization. And thank you for working on such a hard to use and upcycle material. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.